to the Middle East. Last February, Israel joined its neighbors in allowing a number of wounded Syrians into the country. It was a delayed decision out of Israel's reluctance to have an influx of refugees, as is the case in neighboring Lebanon, Turkey, Jordan, and even Iraq. Well, for the moment, Israeli authorities are only allowing severely wounded Syrians into the country. France 24's Gallagher Fenwick joined the Israeli army as they carry out the entry process for Syrians fleeing the violence. Here's his report.
A Syrian boy lies between life and death in one of two Israeli hospitals that have been treating severely wounded patients coming from the other side of the border. This, despite the long-standing enmity between Israel and Syria.
He's just a kid, not my enemy. A child cannot be an enemy.
As of last February, Israeli soldiers have brought nearly 100 Syrian patients to this medical center. One of them has agreed to tell us how he got here, on the condition that we not show his face.
Is the Free Syrian Army cooperating with the Israeli army at the border?
Yes, it is.
What kind of cooperation? How does it work?
Well, the fighters take the patients without carrying weapons. They put us on a particular spot where the Israeli army can see us. Then the Israelis come and take us. To be honest, I was shocked that Israel took us in.
Doctors are adamant that there are no politics involved here, that this is just a humanitarian response to the bloody conflict next door, which spares no one, not even the youngest, like this badly wounded little girl.
Extensive trauma to right leg with extensive soft tissue and bone loss. And it was incomplete amputation.
The little girl's mother, who is also being tended to, says she's thankful.
If someone back home asks me where was I treated in hospital, I'll say Israel. I'm very thankful to their doctors and wish them every success. But I can't say much more than that.
The director of the hospital explains that the Syrian patients are not meant to stay in Israel after they recover.
We noticed the IDF, the Israeli Defense Army, and they are sending their ambulances and they're taking them away from the hospital, apparently to Syria, but I really don't know where is their destination.
According to medical staff, all of those being treated here are from the anti-Assad camp. However, the State of Israel maintains that it has a policy of neutrality and non-intervention in the civil war raging on in neighboring Syria.
Well, for more on this, we can cross live to Gallagher Fenwick. Gallagher, you mentioned there in that report that officially Israel has maintained a neutral stance on Syria. Is that changing?
Well, apparently it is, at least according to the Israeli ambassador to Washington, Michael Oren, who in an interview set to be published this Friday says that as a matter of fact, Israel has wanted Assad to step down ever since the civil war broke out in Syria some 2 years ago. Now, that is very new because up until now, officially, or at least publicly, the Israeli government had never expressed any kind of preference in between the rebels and the regime. However, the Israeli government had repeatedly warned Bashar al-Assad that should he attack Israel or should he retaliate following the strikes that were attributed to Israel earlier this year, then Israel would indeed topple his regime. What remains unclear, however, at this point is whether Israel has been or will be helping the opposition bring about the fall of Bashar al-Assad.
All right, now, Gallagher, other than the fact that Syria is Israel's neighboring country, what makes the Syrian issue so important to the Israeli government?
Well, listen, the Israeli Premier Benjamin Netanyahu has made it very clear, notably to the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, that Syria is very much a case in point where the international community needs to show its determination in having its red lines, notably the use of chemical weapons, being enforced or respected, because that is a clear message being sent out to the other so-called rogue nations. Iran is, of course, at the back of his mind. So he wants the international diplomatic efforts to be coupled with a clear military threat in order for them to bear fruit. Remember that Iran's nuclear ambitions are a grave concern to Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli premier.
Gallagher Fenrick reporting from Israel's Safed. Thank you very much for that. And that was Focus here on France 24. Well, do stay with us on Live from Paris. My colleague Melissa Bell will be here with more headlines. That's coming up after the break.